Hey guys, it's good to see you. It's Ryan here with DP Marketing.Services and author on the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors. Hope you're doing good. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, coming at your video because I know a lot of times we get asked by guys of like, hey, we're trying to market their business, right? They have a plumbing, they have an HVAC, they have a home service company, and they're trying to decide if they should do different sorts of marketing. It could be AdWords, it could be LSA, it could be Facebook ads, it could be email, whatever. And totally a great question. And a lot of times the answer it comes down to it depends. Like for us, it's really hard to say, hey, this one is always good and this one is always bad. There's a couple exceptions to that, but by and large, there's a lot of internal things that you should know before you start doing something, right? So this actually came up from a conversation I had with someone the other day who was doing an AdWords campaign. And in the process of the AdWords campaign, even though the metrics of the campaign were looking good as far as like its goals, right? It was getting seen by the right people, it's getting clicked on by the right people, it's converting at a great rate. All those things are good. Once it kind of transitioned into the operation side of the business, from the CSR to the dispatch to the guy running the call, that's when the numbers started breaking. But before you make a decision on if you're going to do X, Y, or Z with marketing, this is a really helpful sort of process to go through to make sure you understand what you need to do to recover your margins. So, as a rule, marketing should make you money. It should never cost you money, right? So this is kind of one of those things. So this quick calculator is something that I just threw together. And what this is trying to do is help us forecast the expected impact of a marketing change. So, I'm keeping this really simple. You could do this for a period, like you could do this from a 30-day look back. You could do this for a 12-month look back. You could do this for a 36-month look back. You could do this in the future to go like, what do we expect this to happen? Obviously, keep in mind, every marketing is different. So if you're doing things like billboard, TV, radio, if you're trying to measure those early in the life cycle, you can expect any sort of projections to be really crappy. Same thing with things like SEO. Other things like Google local services, you would expect the impact to be noticeable faster. But the way that this would work is in this calculator, you'd be able to say like, hey, let's do an expected expense. So I'm going to say, I'm going to spend, let's say $10,000. So whatever the marketing channel is, I'm going to put $10,000 into it. It could be PPC, it could be radio, whatever. And now I'm going to be able to say, like, how many leads do I think I'm going to generate for this $10,000? And this is obviously going to be very market specific, right? So if you're doing something like billboard, it might be like 2. If you're doing something like PPC, it might be like something like 50. I don't know. Every market's different, but pick kind of your best estimation of what you anticipate you're going to be able to get out as far as leads. If you spend $10,000, you're not going to get 10,000 leads. Right, that is unrealistic. So pick something that you think is actually like an achievable goal. 500 would be crazy, but let's just say 50 for the sake of making this math make sense. Again, you can put whatever numbers you want based on the marketing channel and based on your own projections. Just make sure it's realistic. Okay, so we have 50 leads that we're going to generate, which this automatically does the math to get us an average cost per lead. So of those leads that come in, and we call a lead a phone call, an email form, or a chat request. It's something where a customer like reaches out and identifies themselves. So that's kind of our own sort of way of understanding it, but you could use another sort of definition. But whatever sort of math it comes down to, your cost per lead then comes down to the amount you spent divided by the lead you created. So in this case, this would break down to $200. If that's good or if that's bad, that totally depends on everything else downstream. If your average ticket price is $250,000, hell, I pay $200 for a lead all day long. Lead quality. So of the leads you get in, not 100% of them are gonna be good leads, right? Some of them will be just really low quality. Some of them might not be your customer. So we're just gonna basically make an arbitrary number on how good the leads are coming in. Like how many do you actually have to work with? So let's pretend, so in this example, I did 90, but I could also say 75%. We could also be like super conservative and say, hey, let's just say 50%. Like of those 50 people, let's just say 50% of those are actually people that we can work with, talk to, something like that. Maybe the other 50% are out of area or not our demographic, or they can't afford us no matter who's selling the project, right? So you just kind of like realistically go, you're not going to get strong shots with all 50. So let's plan on a more conservative approach. How many do you actually get a shot for? And if you see over here, this is sort of doing the math, but this is giving you the remaining kind of cut that it's cutting out. So of the 50, we're cutting out 25 from this 50%. Now, of that, now we want to look at, okay, how many will they actually book? so I could talk to, they get us the call, whatever. How good is our own team of getting that person on the calendar to book the job? In our opinion, a CSR has one job: book the call. Book the call, book the call, book the call. That's it. So how good is your team at booking the call? If they suck, if your booking rate's like 11%, okay, write it down. You got to work on your booking rate. But if you're only doing 11%, you got to account for it. If your team is rock stars and you're the best of the best, let's call it 85%. Okay. So when you book the 85%, fantastic. Now, here's another one. Let's pretend that your close rate. So you book the call, you get your tech going out to the job. As you know, we're a huge fan of flat rate pricing. If you're not doing flat rate pricing, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So of those, how many of them is a tech going to be able to successfully sell beyond just a dispatch fee? Right. So if you're doing a $49, $79, $129 dispatch fee to get the tech out, I'm throwing that away. That doesn't even recover your cost of running the call. What percentage of those calls are you going to sell? So let's pretend that you sell 50%. If you guys have a team of rock stars, maybe you're closer to 85% too. Cool. And then the next thing is like, what's your average ticket? Sometimes we talk to guys and their average ticket is like $400. Okay. If you're really good, you might be $1,200 or greater. Not talking about things like full system changeouts. Those can artificially float the numbers, but let's just talk like normal sort of service. If your average ticket's $400, it's going to create problems for you, but we'll kind of walk through this. And what this calculator does is this shows you the return on this investment. So in this case, this kind of color codes: red is bad, yellow is like, meh, you didn't lose money. And green is like, okay, you're kind of in the world of it doesn't suck. Now, are there things that could suck less? Sure. But for the sake of this calculator, this is just helping create like a real quick gauge before you do marketing on if it's worth you doing just based on your own performance. So the way this will work then, if you get a cost per lead of $200, if you're getting half of them are trash, if you're booking most of them like rock stars, excuse me, and if you're closing most of them like rock stars, but your average ticket price is low, you have a huge problem here, right? You're going to have a hard time recouping this cost. But let's say in this, I'm going to actually generate, let's say I keep the 50 leads, but let's say I'm going to only throw out 25%. Okay. So now it's like, okay, it's better. Like we've broken even, but there's only so much more you can do here, right? So we're getting decent leads. You're booking them great, you're closing them great, but the average ticket sucks. So now here it's that you get one of two options. One, you could finally get more leads for less money. Sometimes that's doable, sometimes that's not, on the same channel, right? If you're doing things like AdWords, it's like, is there a more cost efficient way to generate those costs per leads? And maybe it's something like, hey, if you can get this to, I'll make up like this. If you can get your cost per lead down to like $83, does this work? Cool. That might not be possible. It might 100% be impossible to get that cost per lead down because there's a lot of variables that are outside of anyone's control that are market driven. However, you can control this guy. So let's pretend if your average ticket's $400, let's pretend you're doing like a $1,200 average ticket. Now we have a 3-to-1 ROI, right? Is it great? No. Is it better than breaking even or losing money? Yeah. So 3-to-1 ROI, I wouldn't get excited about this all day long, but at least it's cash flow positive. But if you notice, here's what the math shows. The math is literally showing that even if your cost per lead is $200, even if they're decently high quality, and even if your team knows how to book and sell, if your pricing is wrong, it's going to throw off all of your ROI numbers. And if you're not careful, your instinct is going to be able to blame like marketing. Like, well, I need more leads because if I got more leads, then I'll make more money. But in reality, a lot of times the only way to get more leads is to throw more cash at it. So you might do this and you might do this. Double the budget, double the outcome. But guess what? You're still exactly kind of where you were if your average ticket is here. So it's one of these things that make sure you know going into when you're making marketing decisions what you think you can do. If your team sucks at answering the phone, if you're booking 50% of the calls, don't do this. Because look, it's red. Even if you guys can sell, even if I make this $1,200, I'm not real happy with that margin. That's like a 1.5 times ROI, like 1.5 to 1. That's not great. So that's almost 2 to 1. So this is one of those where if you're not comfortable and if your team doesn't really dial in on making sure they book the call, making sure they know how to close when a tech runs a call, making sure the average ticket is high, every other thing is going to really hurt. These are the pieces that are going to have the most fundamental impact on if you're profitable or not. If you're getting cost per leads, like if this is happening, if you're getting like $2,000 a lead, you're going to be upside down. Like that's broken. But don't expect marketing to solve all your problems. A lot of times it's the things that are operational. It's the answering the phone. It's the running the call. It's the pricing yourself correctly. They're going to have a more profound impact on your ROI than just, did you get more leads in the door? And so don't fall into the trap of like, I just need more leads. I just need more leads. I just need more leads. Maybe like 100%. There are guys who that is 100% what they need. Most of the time it's this stuff right here. It's the quality of the leads. It's the booking rate of the leads. It's the closing rate of the leads. It's knowing your pricing is right so your average tickets are where they need to be that really are going to set you up for success. Getting this part up here, like making sure you're getting the most leads at the lowest price, cool. Like that's good to go. But if this is solid, so I'm going to say, let's say 200. I'll say 250. Let's go a little bit aggressive. Let's say cost per lead of 80. If your team sucks here, 50 and 50, and let's say your pricing sucks. Look, I mean, your marketing is spot on. $80 cost per lead on a lot of things is fantastic. But if everything else is good, but your pricing is wrong, it breaks. And you're probably going to want to blame marketing. But the math says that nope, marketing's good, the leads generated good, the quality of the leads is good, 75%, the booking rate sucks, the closing rate sucks, and the average ticket sucks. It's really important to forecast this before you go into making marketing decisions because there's no worse thing in the world, in my opinion, than throwing like $20K at a problem, hoping it'll fix it, and then getting pissed $20,000 later because you've lost, $1,200. But I would like to hear from you. How do you plan? How do you forecast? How do you make decisions about your marketing in advance before you just throw your money away and kind of roll the dice? Leave a comment below. As always, guys, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. It's good to see you.